You're now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That's the go-getter energy that moves anyone out there, including yourself, especially yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one bundle, one podcast, one mindset, one method, one show, one book, one philosophy, this masterclass. Some of y'all call this a podcast, but listen, this is a masterclass. What we do here is a masterclass. It is not the normal banter of somebody just coming out here and just saying anything and everything randomly for 45 minutes or 15 minutes. This is a masterclass right here every single day that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Today's topic is relentless implementation. Relentless implementation. Now, we talked about implementation on a couple different masterclasses here on the show. I'll tell you what those are in a minute. But the reason that we're even talking about this topic here today is because I had to put this one out after the planning masterclasses that we did not too long ago. So first, let me tell you about all of those. First of all, I told you why you need to implement with speed, masterclass number 1445, and why fast implementation is a requirement, masterclass number 1392. Two different approaches to those two, even though they may sound similar. So make sure you're checking both of those masterclasses. And then the one where we talked about the masterclasses when we talked about planning, masterclass number 1553 and 1554, which are why you need a plan and how to make a plan, respectively. That's 1553 and 1554, which was less than a week ago. So you probably already know those. Maybe you even remember them. You probably don't remember any of the points. Make sure you go back and listen to them again if you didn't take notes. So you can't implement something unless you have something to implement, right? So that's why the planning episodes needed to come first, and then the implementation needed to come after that. So today's masterclass is essentially about the concept of sticking to the script, which again requires that a script actually exists. You can't stick to a script if there ain't no script, right? So now that you have a script, now that you know why, you know the value of a plan, and you have actually made a plan. I told you exactly why you need a plan, and I told you how to make one. So if you did not listen to those two masterclasses, again, that's 1553 and 1554. The full content of those classes are available to you at Work on Your Game inside the game group membership. Your first 2 weeks are completely free. So if all you want to get is just learning how to make a plan, make sure you go there, Work on Your Game University, make sure you sign up, get the full material of both of those masterclasses and any other ones you want. Your first 2 weeks are free no matter what you do. Again, Work on Your Game University today. Now we are talking about how to actually stick to a script since you now have a script. Everybody got it? Now, if you don't have my book, the mental workbook about how to write out the script for your own life and enact it every single day, you see how everything is connected here, people. If you didn't know, the mental workbook can be claimed at workonmygame.com/workbook. You can order your copy there, workonmygame.com/workbook. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is relentless implementation. The definition of implementation is the process of putting a decision or plan into effect, also known as execution. Simplest point of all this. Once you have a plan, work your damn plan. This was one of the points that I made in the How to Make a Plan episode, masterclass. So you made a plan that you said you're going to go to the gym 3 times a week. Okay, now go to the gym 3 times a week. You said that you were going to write 500 words a day so you could write your first book. Okay, now write a book. You said that you would start saving $20 every single week so you could start building a nest egg because you never saved money before. Okay, now you got to start actually doing it. All these are very, very simple concepts, but they are not always easy to implement aspects of the whole concept of implementation. It's very simple to say what you're going to start doing. I'm going to start working out every day. I'm going to start saving money. I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to start writing my book, and I'm going to do it consistently, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. I mean, all of us have been in positions in our lives where we're motivated or excited at a certain point for whatever reason, and we start making all these commitments, these things we're going to do to make changes in our lives because we want to get better and we want to do this, or we want to get rid of this terrible thing that's going on in life. But implementing it is a whole different ball game than talking about it. Can you agree? Once I was playing ball, I told this story, I think, maybe a few months ago. I was playing basketball at the local park. This is in Philadelphia, right at the beginning of my professional career. But I was home in Philly at this point, and I was working out by myself. And these two kids that I knew from the neighborhood, they came by the park. They're a little bit younger guys, and they're like, "Yeah, let's play one-on-one." And I'm like, "I'll play both of y'all at the same time," because I knew I was gonna kick their asses. And they looked at each other like, "Yo, this dude, he's better than us, but he ain't that much better than us. He ain't beating us 2-on-1." And we played a whole bunch of games of 2-on-1, and I kicked both of their asses together because they didn't know how to coordinate their skills to even make it matter that it was 2 against 1. And they were both not on my level at that time. This is, again, the start of my pro career, so they weren't beating me. And I remember after we got done playing, one of the kids was like, "Yo, when the next time you coming out here? Because I need to work on my game. I need to get better." Because he was feeling kind of motivated, and he was probably feeling a little bit embarrassed by the fact that me, as one person, had beaten both of them as 2 people. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to work on my game. I need to get better." I never saw that kid at the playground ever again after that day. Never again. So I'm telling you that story to tell you this. It sounds good to make plans when you're excited and when you're motivated and when it looks like the plan is going to make sense, is going to produce a result. Because look, he could tell that if he worked out with me, he would at least get better. He might not become me basketball-wise, but he could at least got better. He definitely would have got better had he worked out with me. I never saw that dude again at the playground. And if I did see him at the playground, he was sitting on the bench over there, smoking weed or something. He wasn't playing. So the plans always sound good when we're making them. Or do you have that same level of enthusiasm? Do you keep that same energy when it's time to enact the plan and make sure it actually starts working? Planning can be fun. It can get really fun when we have a planning process in place and we're making these big goals, especially if you have someone helping you put the plan together, as I've done with those 2 masterclasses that I mentioned. And what we're talking about here, if let's say you go to a seminar that's all about setting goals, or you read a book that's about making your goals and making your plans for life, like my book, The Mental Workbook, or you're around someone who has already achieved something that you want to achieve, like this kid at the park who was like, "Yeah, I need to work on my game." He saw that I was good at basketball. He wanted to get at least a little bit better than what he was, and he was garbage. He wanted to get better. So when you're around someone who is already doing the thing that you want to do, and you can see kind of there's a path to get there, you're like, "Oh yeah," you're excited, you're motivated, you're inspired, you want to do it, you're making the plans, all these things that you're going to do. Do you have that same energy 3 days later when that person's no longer around, all that hype up and motivation is gone? Do you got that same energy? I'm pausing here just to let you think about it. Planning is fun when you're planning. Now, do you have the commitment to actually follow through on that plan? Commitment means having the same enthusiasm, the same energy when the initial energy is gone. Actually, it's not commitment. We'll just call it discipline. Commitment. That same energy when the enthusiasm is no longer there. That's what commitment means. That's a whole different story than just planning something out. Would you agree? Point number 2. Today's topic is relentless implementation. In sports, they have this job called the advanced scout. And I love using this example because it helps everyone. It will help everyone understand what we mean when we talk about implementation, what we mean by when we talk about execution. The definition again of implementation is the process of putting a decision or a plan into effect. In sports, they have these things called advanced scouts, and the advanced scout's main job is to do one thing. You work for one team. Your job is to go around and watch all the other teams that your team is going to play against or may eventually play against, and figure out what they're doing, how they're doing it, all their strengths and weaknesses, and how we're going to beat them. So for example, let's say I was an advanced scout working for the Miami Heat. I don't spend too much time with the Miami Heat. I spend at least half of my time traveling around the country going to all the other NBA teams' games. So I might go watch the Mavericks play against the New York Knicks. I might go watch the Pacers play against the Orlando Magic. I might go watch the Lakers play against the Minnesota Timberwolves. My job is to go and see what our future opponents are doing, how they're doing it, their strengths and weaknesses, who are their best players, what kind of plays do they run, what is their communication style, what do we need to know about. I want to know all their strengths, all their weaknesses, their opportunities and their threats. The opportunities for us to beat them and the threats for them to beat us. I'm going to find all of that stuff, and my job is to file a report back to my team, the Miami Heat, and let them know all these things that I discovered and make that part of the game plan for how we are going to beat the Lakers or the Timberwolves or the Magic or the Pacers. That's my job as an advanced scout. Now, I want you to understand, these advanced scouts, they're really good. All right, they're very talented. They're really good at sussing out what is going on with other teams. And I want you to understand, advanced scouting happens in every sport. They do this in soccer, they do it in basketball, they do it in baseball, in football. Every sport has advanced scout. Boxing has advanced scouting. UFC has advanced scouting. Every competitive sport, advanced scouting is going on, where someone is watching you as the performer or you as the player on the team, figuring out all your strengths and weaknesses, at least what they can assess are your strengths and weaknesses, and they are game planning to beat you, and you don't even know this person exists. Many of you who are listening to this right now may have never even heard of the concept of advanced scouting unless you heard it from me. And even if you did hear of it, you probably couldn't point out an advanced scout if you've seen one. If there's an advanced scout sitting on the plane right next to you, you wouldn't know they were an advanced scout unless they had maybe on a t-shirt of the team that they work for or something like that. They're not famous, but they have a very important job. Now, being that these advanced scouts exist, here's my question I want to ask you. Actually, let me tell you one more piece of information about advanced scouting. Since advanced scouting exists, let me tell you what it means for professional athletes. Nothing is a surprise. Nothing that LeBron James is going to do on the court is a surprise to the teams that he plays against, because advanced scouts have been watching this guy and his teams and the way they play for as long as he's been in the league. Nothing that any team does in any sport. If the Indianapolis Colts have a certain pet play that they run successfully all the time, every team they play against knows about that pet play. They know that it's coming. They might not know when it's coming, but they know that it is coming. They know exactly how it works, and they have a game plan for how to stop it. Doesn't mean they will, but they do have a game plan for how to stop it. Everyone knows all the tendencies of the best pitcher in baseball and the best batters in baseball. They know the tendencies. They know what they shouldn't do. They know what mistakes not to make. They know what is coming from these people. Nothing is a surprise. Everything is planned ahead of time. Everyone knows everything they need to know. There's a full file on everything you do and everything that you do great. This is one of the reasons why, as a side note, to be a superstar player in professional sports, in any professional sport, solo sports like golf or boxing, or team sports like basketball or football, it is a special job, not because of the level of talent that you have to have and skill and the results you must produce. Of course, we know about all those things, but the reason why it's such a special job is because everyone knows exactly what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, maybe even when and where you're going to do it, and you still got to figure out how to do it anyway. Can you imagine trying to score? If you scored 30 points in the game and nobody knew who you were before the game, it might be a pleasant surprise. Like, damn, he had 30 points. I didn't know who that guy was. But the next game against the same team, all right, they know who you are now. You had 30 points on them last time. Do you think they paid attention? Do you think they know who you are this game? Do you think they're going to try to stop you from doing all the things that led you to getting 30 points last game? Of course they are. They are now fully prepared for you. You have their undivided attention now. Can you still score 30 points? Now, if you can still score 30 points despite the fact that their whole game plan is based around not letting you get 30, that's when you become a superstar. See, a superstar is not the person who comes out of nowhere and surprises everybody with success. Superstar is the person who everybody knows you're going to do the thing, and they're trying to stop you from doing the thing, and you still do the thing anyway. Anyway, that was just a side note there for any of you sports fans or athletes who need to understand what makes someone a superstar. All of this is under this. We're still on point number 2 here, talking about advanced scouts. The topic, once again today, in case anybody forgot, is relentless implementation. Since nothing is a surprise, everybody knows what's coming. Everybody knows everybody else's plans. So you think your plans are a surprise? No, they're not. So how do players still do things successfully? How can a football team get any yards or score any touchdowns in a game if every team they play against already knows all the plays that they run? How can a baseball pitcher strike out batter after batter in baseball when there are a bunch of scouts for every team in baseball who knows every pitch you throw, how and where you throw it, when you have a tendency to throw it, and you still strike people out? How is that even possible? How can a basketball player score 30 points a game using that same crossover that every scout in the league has seen you use that crossover? They know when and where you like to use it, and they have a game plan for how to stop it, yet you still do it anyway. How is this even possible? Anybody have an answer? I do. The answer is this: execution. What execution means, it means doing your thing anyway, despite the fact that your opponent knows that it's coming and your opponent is trying to stop you from doing it anyway. Now, since most of us in life do not have an opponent playing defense against our success, active defense against our success, like a football or basketball team does, another thing you need to understand about execution: it can get boring to do the same thing over and over again, because this requires discipline on your part. And since nobody's playing defense against you, at least not directly playing defense against you to stop you from doing your thing, whatever your thing may happen to be, what that means is you shouldn't have a problem executing. The only challenge in your execution is the defense you play against yourself, with your lack of mental toughness and your lack of commitment and your lack of discipline. Your lack of showing up consistently, doing your job, even when you don't feel like doing your job. That lack of discipline will cost you more than that lack of discipline. That's it. That's the thing that's going to cost you. If anything costs you, is your lack of follow through. If you happen to be an athlete, now you have opponents playing defense against you. They're trying to stop you. All right, so you have a natural counterbalance, something to push back against. But those of you who aren't athletes, or even those of you who are, outside of your games, when you have a defender in front of you, what's stopping you from doing what you need to do? What's stopping you from executing? If there's nobody playing defense, there's nobody stopping you, nobody blocking you from going to the gym and working on your game extra. There's nobody blocking you from waking up early and writing those 500 words a day for the book that you said you were going to write. What's your excuse? At least in boxing, you got somebody trying to punch you in the face. Who's punching you in the face when you open up your computer and open up Microsoft Word and start writing that book that you said you were going to write? Who's stopping you from doing it? Who's going to tackle you if you decide to go to the gym at 6 o'clock every morning before you go to work like you said you would? Nobody. So what's your problem? I can understand a football team failing to score because the other team's trying to stop them, but who's trying to stop you from doing things to better yourself? Last I checked, nobody. So the only reason that you're not doing it is you are your biggest opponent. Your lack of your own personal discipline. You think about that for a minute as we move on to point number 3. Today's topic is relentless implementation. Point number 3, I'll tell you what my business coach told me. He said, when you have a plan and you are implementing your plan, there are no black ops allowed. What is black ops? Now, I'm not a huge military person, but any of you play military video games, I think I've heard this phrase before, or any of you who is actually in the military or knows someone in the military, or you study it or you know what it means. Black ops is basically a secret operation. It's called black ops because nobody sees it, nobody knows about it. It's an operation that gets executed, and the only people that know about it are the people who are doing it and maybe a few key people who need to know about it. That's it. When Barack Obama and company in the military identified, found, and killed Osama bin Laden many years back, that was a black ops operation. Nobody knew about it. Obama did not announce it. There was no social media updates as to what was going on. Nobody knew about it until it actually happened. Once it got executed and bin Laden had been declared officially murdered, dead, that's when it got announced. So we did it. We killed him. We finished off Osama bin Laden. There were a whole bunch of people celebrating that day. I remember when it happened. But that was black operations. Nobody needed to know about it until it was actually done. Here's the thing that I'm telling you today when it comes to relentless implementation: black ops ain't allowed. Ain't no black ops for you. Okay, you're not, unless you have me working in the military. Now you may have black ops in that. I'm talking about your plan that you already made. No black operations, meaning you are not doing any projects that are outside of that plan. Once you have a plan, that is your recipe for work. From here moving forward, your recipe for work is exactly what's on that plan. Nothing more, nothing less. Do what's in your plan. Do not deviate from it. This is especially important when you have other people working with you or other people working for you, especially in these situations, because the last thing you want to do is confuse them or have them just not knowing what the hell is going on. In other words, confusing them by doing stuff that they didn't expect you to do, which first of all undermines the entire process, because you made a plan, you got other people working with or for you, and you're doing something that's not even in the plan. They're looking at you like, all right, what the hell are you doing? And they may not be able to say that. Or if you're the boss especially and you're running black operations, something that's outside of the plan, and people are working for you, they see you're doing something that's outside of the plan, they may not have the authority, or they may not feel comfortable calling you out on it or even asking you about it. So you, as the boss, as the leader, you must be disciplined enough to not do this. So because you got to hold yourself accountable as a boss. And this is where it will help for you to have a coach in place, somebody who can hold you accountable. Everybody can use that. It undermines the entire process when you are stepping outside of the plan, doing something that has nothing to do with the plan. It damages the trust that other people have in you. I remember in college, one of my college coaches, he was always changing the assistant coaches. There was always a different assistant coach. At the beginning of the year, there was no assistant coach. It was just him. Then he brought in an assistant coach, a guy that I actually knew. He was a former player. He was the assistant coach for about 2 weeks. Then I guess he got fired. I don't know. The coach never said anything, but this guy who was the assistant coach, he just stopped coming to practice. And then one day I seen the guy and I was like, hey, what happened to you? Why are you not here coaching with us anymore? He said, the guy let me go. But the coach never told us, the team, that he had let this guy go. He never said anything. Nothing ever got announced. This guy just disappeared, this assistant coach. And then over the course of the season, we had about 4 or 5 different assistant coaches, never at the same time. These are each one individually. A coach would be around for a couple weeks, and then the coach would disappear. Then a new coach would come around for a couple weeks, and then that coach would disappear. And here's the funniest thing about the whole thing is that the coach would never introduce the assistant coach to us. So in other words, you come into practice, you used to having this one coach, and then we would be practicing, and then one day, some assistant coach would just show up. The coach would not announce this person. The coach wouldn't say, hey, everybody, here's Mr. Jones. He's going to be one of our assistant coaches. He would never say that. The coach would just be standing there, and then we'd start practicing, and the assistant would just start saying stuff and helping and offering advice, and we're looking at him like, are you an assistant coach, or why are you talking? Why are you even in the gym? We didn't know because the coach never announced it. It was very awkward when it was happening, and looking back, as these people just randomly showing up one day and helping and then disappearing, and then another person randomly showing up. It was very awkward when it was going on, but looking back, we can laugh at it now. It was funny. And that coach, that head coach, this person who kept changing things, and he wasn't really, I don't think he even had a plan, let alone implementing a plan. He didn't last very long as a head coach, period, in basketball. Now, I'm not saying that was the reason why he didn't last, because he kept changing assistant coaches, but I am saying that's the reason why he didn't last, because he didn't have a plan. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. And in the end, his lack of implementation of a plan, or his lack of having a plan, period, ended up hurting him a lot more than it helped him. So let's recap today's class, which is, again, relentless implementation. Had to have this one come out again after the planning topics of 1553 and 1554, those master classes, and make sure you check those if you haven't already. Today's class is about the concept of sticking to the script, which requires that you actually have one. Point number 1, definition of implementation is the process of putting a decision or a plan into effect, also known as execution. It's the simplest point. Once you have a plan, work the plan. You said you're going to go to the gym, you're going to write a book, you're going to start saving money, actually do it. Planning is fun when you're talking about it. It's not as easy when you wake up one day, 5 in the morning, and realize now it's time to start working it. Point number 2, in sports they have advanced scouts. Advanced scouting means every team knows what everybody else is going to do. Every opponent knows what their opponent is going to do. They know everything about you, all your tendencies, everything. So how the hell can you be successful when everybody knows everything you're going to do, everything you can do, and everything you can't do is that you execute. You do it anyway. Even though they're watching you, they're knowing you, and they're planning against you, you're able to do it anyway. That is the mark of a professional, is your ability to execute despite the fact you even have someone playing defense against you. Now, you in your life, there's nobody stopping you from doing what you want to do. What is your problem? Nobody's going to punch you in the face if you try to go to the gym. Nobody's going to tackle you if you try to write a book. So why are you not doing it? It is a defense you are playing against yourself, and you are your toughest defender. Point number 2. Point number 3. Business coach told me, no black ops. In other words, no secret operations. Do what is in your plan. Do not deviate from it. This is especially important when you have other people working with or for you, because you can confuse them. It undermines the process. It damages trust. One of my college coaches was always changing assistant coaches, never even announced what was going on. It was very awkward when it was happening. It's funny now, and he didn't last very long as a coach. I'm not saying that's why he failed. I'm saying that's why he failed. Work on your game. Dre all day.